The last few videos in Pokemon Moon on the channel have just been with a particular Kanto species versus its Alolan form. Thankfully, we'll get to take a little bit of a break from that and play two completely different species. Today, we're going to see how fast some of the OG kings and queens of Kanto, Nidoqueen and Nidoking, can perform in Pokemon Moon in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into the video. I think both of these Pokemon are going to be very good, and they both even got stat buffs. In fact, starting Generation 6, both of them got an extra 10 stat points added to their attack stats. But let's look at the rest of their stats. Starting with Nidoqueen, we have 90 HP, 92 attack, which used to be 82 up until Gen 6, 87 defense, 75 special attack, 85 special defense, and 76 speed. Nidoking has 81 HP, 102 attack, it used to be 92, 77 defense, 85 special attack, 75 special defense, and 85 speed. And both of our Pokemon are going to get a very good growth rate, medium slow. With the lack of trainer boosted experience points, being able to get more experience earlier on in the game is definitely going to make a huge difference. I'm sure some of you may know, but since Nidoqueen and Nidoking both evolve from Nidorina and Nidorino respectively from a Moonstone, these Pokemon don't get many level up moves, but they do get some, unlike the previous stone evolution we ran last week being Alolan Sandslash. Both of our contenders start with some pretty okay moves. For Nidoqueen, we'll start off with Scratch, Tail Whip, Double Kick, and Poison Sting. We're not going to get Super Power, unfortunately, right away. And we also get Chip Away at level 23, then Body Slam and Earth Power, and then Super Power at level 58. You may be wondering what Chip Away does. Chip Away just ignores the opponent's defense boosts when calculating damage, so this could be useful for the Wishy-Washy fight. And if we look at Nidoking's set, it starts off with Peck, Focus Energy, Double Kick, and Poison Sting, and it also gets Chip Away, Thrash, Earth Power, and Mega Horn. It's going to be very good having Focus Energy, especially since on the second island we can easily get the Scope Lens, giving all of our moves guaranteed crits. And now let's take a quick glance at their TM sections. Both of them get very identical TMs. The one difference is Nidoqueen gets Aerial Ace while Nidoking gets Smart Strike. Trust me, this will make a difference later on the third island. But looking at the rest of the TM, some of our great moves include Venoshock, Hidden Power, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Hyper Beam, Smackdown, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Return, Shadow Ball, Brick Break, Sludge Wave, Flamethrower, Sludge Bomb, Fire Blast, Rock Tomb, Facade, Thief, Round, Echoed Voice, Focus Blast, Fling, Shadow Claw, Giga Impact, Stone Edge, Bulldoze, Rock Slide, Dragon Tail, and Poison Jab. Both of our contenders will literally get any move they could ever want. It's just unfortunate that Earthquake is locked in the postgame, but to be fair, I don't think it's going to matter, because if we look at Nidoqueen's ability, nature, and hidden power of choice, both of our contenders are going with our hidden ability's sheer force. What this ability does is it gets rid of secondary effects of moves, for example, the chance for Poison Sting to poison, in exchange for boosting the damage by 30%. So Poison Sting's going to do more damage in exchange for never being able to poison the target. There are some other unintended consequences, but I will talk about those later. Our hidden power typing will be Hidden Power Grass. Hidden Power Grass is going to be a useful answer for Wishy-Washy, and it can be good for SOS training. And our nature is going to be Hasty. This gives us extra speed and less defense. I think we have plenty of defense for both of our Pokemon, which is why both Nidoqueen and Nidoking are running the same ability, same hidden power, and the same ability as well. So these runs are going to be very, very similar. Starting off with Nidoqueen, Nidoqueen doesn't have any problems at the trainer school, including teacher Emily's Magnemite, because she can't even hit us with Thundershock, and then we can make our way to the Verdant Cavern where we can get access to our first good move, Brick Break. Obviously, I'm not going to play an intro for Raticate because I think it should be pretty obvious how this fight's going to go. But although the Island Kahuna Hala can still be a threat for most Pokemon, I mean, we're still not going to have super effective damage or anything like that, so why don't we see how Hala goes. I enter the Holofight holding the Normalium Z. I plan to use this move with Scratch, but first what I'm going to do is use Brick Break to two-shot the Mankey. Next up is the Makuhita. This thing is probably going to flinch me right away with Fake Out. I'm trying to decide what to do, but in the end I decide to just keep going for Brick Break. Thankfully that is a clean two-shot as well, although I do get hit with Sand Attack. Next up is Crab Brawler. I'm going to go ahead and use the Normalium Z, and instead of Breakneck Blitz, I'm actually going to use Z Tail Whip. What this does, it lowers the opponent's defense by 1, and it increases my own attack stat by 1. I did this because I thought I might need it, which honestly, I think I probably did since Brick Break looks like it's going to be a 3-shot, but unfortunately due to the sand attacks, I miss way too many times. On the second attempt against Hala, I don't get that many misses, and I can defeat the Crab Brawler and get myself a time of 22 minutes and 52 seconds. That is a very good time for the early game, but Nidoking does have slightly better attack, so let's see if Nidoking can get a better time. One slightly annoying thing that Nidoking has to deal with that Nidoqueen didn't have to deal with is that Peck is a slightly weaker move than Scratch, and unfortunately on the second rival fight with his Popplio and his Pichu, I get very bad paralysis luck, and I actually end up losing to this rival fight. Thankfully you're not required to win, but dude, this took such a long time. Brick Break on the Raticate Go Burr, and now let's fight Hala again. I'm not going to be holding the Normalium Z because all I got is Focus Energy. What I'm going to do is just use Focus Energy and just sweep with Brick Break and hope for the best. I two-shot the Mankey, and then on the Makuhita, it's going to be a clean two-shot as well. A super effective Peck has an effective power of 70, while Brick Break is 75, so Brick Break is actually better for this fight. And thankfully, I can actually first try this Holofight and get Nidoking a time of 22 minutes and 30 seconds. This is starting to look pretty identical to the Sandslash video from last week, meaning on the first island, both of our contenders are very close to each other. Nidoking is ahead by only 22 seconds. That's essentially like nothing. I essentially just traded a long and painful loss at the second rival fight, while with Nidoqueen, it had a reset to Hala. But then again, the first island is pretty much just the tutorial island. The second island, Akala Island, is usually where Pokemon will either go very far ahead or become very far behind, because there's the water trial, the fire trial, the grass trial, and the Olivia fight. Both of our contenders might have some decent problems against the water trial. I don't think I need to explain why, but I do need to remember, the Wishy-Washy has been becoming scary lately, so I need to be ready. Let's continue on with Nidoking and see how the less bulky of the two does against it. The only thing I pick up on Melemele Island is the Expert Belt and the Shell Bell. I'm not going to need leftovers for this thing today. Oh yeah, I also do get the Poison Barb as well. The Poison Barb increases the power of Poison type moves by 20%. I mean, I just have Poison Sting right now, but with Sheer Force and the Poison Barb, it could do some okay damage. We're not going to get access to another poison move unless we're willing to purchase Vetoshock from Coney City, or just wait until Poni Island for Sludge Wave, or I guess Sludge Bomb from Po Town. I arrive to the next island, then immediately sail back because I forgot another thing. I forgot to pick up the Echo Voice TM. After getting revenge on my rival in Paniola Town for how the Rival 2 fight went, I go into the ranch right here and pick myself up the Scope Lens. When I hold the Scope Lens in combination with Focus Energy, all of my moves will become auto crit. And since critical hits will ignore defense boosts and stuff like that, I think this might be my answer for Wishy-Washy. So why don't we go ahead, defeat Gladion really quick, and go take on the Totem Wishy-Washy. I made sure before entering this fight to get level 23 for Chip Away. I also did teach Hidden Power Grass. I start off by using Hidden Power Grass, doing about half, and its HP got low enough to where it was actually able to summon Wishy-Washy. Unfortunately though, the Rain makes Water Gun do a lot more damage, and the Citrus Berry puts it out of a 2-hit range with Hidden Power Grass from the Expert Belt, and because of that, I get a quick reset. Honestly, at this point, I think I just need to hope for a turn 1 Soak or something. On the second attempt though, I get something kinda similar. I get hit with Growl instead, and since Hidden Power is special, it's not that big of a deal to get hit by it. I then can knock out the Totem Wishy-Washy, and sadly the other Wishy-Washy ends up knocking me out. I decide not to take a blackout and just reset and try again. On the 4th attempt, I am finally able to win. What I do is I use Hidden Power turn 1, and you want to know what happened? The Wishy-Washy just used Soak. Yeah, for all those times that the Wishy-Washy looks like it's getting really good, it'll just do a fight like that and I can win the fight in green health. Yeah. Sadly, it just didn't look like Focus Energy was going to be too useful. The main disadvantage with Focus Energy is it requires a setup turn. At the Thrifty Mega Mart, I go ahead and pick myself up the TM for rest, and I can climb up Well of Volcano and go take on the Fire Trial. I will actually not need to do any Marowak training for once. I can just solve the trial normally and go straight to the Salazzle. Okay, I did fib a little bit. I did do some Marowak training, just not that much. I just wanted to make sure that after I knocked out the Salazzle in one hit, I level up to level 28. Why do I need level 28? Simple. Damage rounding threshold. But other than that, there really isn't a good reason for it. I just felt like doing it. I fight most of the trainers on Route 8 leading up to the Lush Jungle. My plan before I take on Lurantis is I need to do some SOS training on Psyduck. Why, with a physical attacking Nidoking, am I going to need special attack EVs? Here's the thing. I'm going to need level 30 for Lurantis with Silk Scarf, and I'm going to use Echoed Voice. If I can EV train on Psyducks to level 30, then Echoed Voice at that point should knock out the Lurantis on the 3rd hit. It'll do 18 to 22% on turn 1, 35 to 42% on turn 2, and 68 to 82% on turn 3. That will be enough to 3-hit with the Silk Scarf, but I'm going to need to do some Psyduck training in order to get that. But for EVs that I need throughout the game in general, I don't really need that much. I just need 124 attack, 124 special attack, and 116 speed. Not that bad. I am a little disappointed I wasn't able to hold on to Poison Sting to make this a bit better, because having to use Echoed Voice to try to weaken the Psyducks is not really that good of an idea. I essentially have to keep knocking out random Psyduck until I can find a Psyduck with low enough special defense to actually survive in red health instead of yellow, so now I can keep up the training. As soon as I get level 30 and about 50 or so special attack EVs, I feel more than ready to take on the Lurantis. So let's go ahead and equip the Silk Scarf and get started. On turn 1, I get hit with Solar Blade as I use my first Echoed Voice. I'm going to use my second Echoed Voice on the Lurantis. It does get a critical hit, but it's not going to matter because it'll be a 3-hit anyway. Then guess what happens? The Trumbeak uses Supersonic and I hit myself in confusion. Okay, that was not even my fault. On the second attempt, I am able to knock out the Lurantis, but unfortunately I get a bit unlucky with the damage coming from the Trumbeak, so the Trumbeak ends up knocking me out. On the 3rd try, I am able to win and get myself the Grass EMZ. Maybe it'll be useful. Oh wait, no it won't. Hidden Power Grass cannot work with the Grass EMZ. Little fun fact for you all. Hidden Power only works with the normal EMZ. After I defeat the trial though, Professor Kukui gives me the TM for Smart Strike. This is the one exclusive TM that Nidoking gets that Nidoqueen does not. And Smart Strike is going to be my answer for the Ghost Trial in the Mimikyu. Unfortunately, Nidoqueen is going to have to use a different solution. I mean, thankfully it does get Shadow Ball, so that'll probably be its solution. But we don't need to worry about that right now. We haven't even gotten to Olivia yet. And sadly, we're going to have to wait a bit longer until we get access to a ground type move. We don't get Earth Power till level 43. So I think we're going to have to be using Hidden Power Grass for her. Well, we also do have Brick Break and Smart Strike, so you know what? We've got plenty of options for Olivia. I do not think she's going to be that hard, so why don't we go ahead and play the intro and see how the Rock type trial goes. Thankfully, against her lead Nose Pass, even though it has Sturdy, she cannot use Thunder Wave on me, so I'll go ahead and just do a clean 2-shot with Brick Break. Next up is the Boldore. She sends out this second because of Mud Slap. But whatever though, I can just 3-hit it with Brick Break, although she does try to stall with Potions. I'm holding the Amulet Coin just because I'm that not worried about her. I can then knock out the Lycanroc and defeat Olivia with a real time of 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 22 seconds. Getting very close to an hour on Olivia is very good. Is it God tier? No. Normally a God tier Olivia split would be like 55-57 minutes. But I can definitely see this thing getting an A tier at this rate, but let's not speak too soon. Our stats still aren't the best thing in the world. I do think the late game might give us more problems with these kinds of stats, but still, we'll find out later. Let's move on to Nidoqueen and see how she does on Akala Island. Before I leave Melemele Island, the only thing I bother getting is the Expert Belt and the Shell Bell. And on Akala Island in Hiahia City, when I try to fight Sina, she has a Delibird and a Glaceon. I do unfortunately end up losing, but thankfully you're not required to beat her. And before I enter Paniola Town, I am actually going to go to this berry tree right here that's out of view. I don't think most of you even know it's here. This berry tree gives you the pinch berries. Essentially what these do is they heal half of your HP if you're at 25% of your HP or less. It is a bit more strict than the citrus berry, but can heal more. There are 5 different kinds of pinch berries, but unfortunately, depending on your nature, one of the berries will cause confusion when consumed. But thankfully, I did get a berry that will not cause Nidoqueen confusion. Since Nidoqueen has a hasty nature, that means the one berry I do not want to eat is the Iapa berry, because hasty lowers defense, and the Iapa berry is generally preferred by Pokemon that get good defense. Before fighting Wishiwashi with Nidoqueen, I want to get level 23 as well for Chip Away, so I do some slight training on some random Wishiwashis that get into an SOS chain. I unfortunately do get a blackout because they did start doing a bit too much damage. Right away, turn 1 on the Wishiwashi, I will go for Hidden Power holding the Expert Belt. It is going to be a clean 3-shot, especially with the Citrus Berry, and it does summon Alomomola. What I decide to do now is I attack the Alomomola right away. I don't think this is a good idea. This allows the Wishiwashi to knock out Nidoqueen. I accept the blackout because I wasn't level 22 yet. Then when I come back in, I just fight this one fisherman to get level 23 and I can learn Chip Away. Level 23 over the damage rounding threshold did look like it had the potential chance to 2-shot the Wishiwashi totem fight, but unfortunately it still survives anyway. Man, it's so annoying that these Pokemon have very mediocre stats. I guess I should be glad it didn't take that many tries to eventually win, but in the end, the way I won was a turn 1 growl, and thankfully none of the moves did that much damage. At least I was able to win without Soak, so that's something Nidoqueen can say that Nidoking couldn't. That is definitely because of its higher HP. On my way up to the Well of Volcano, I end up getting an accidental blackout because I decide to fight a wild Magby just to get a bit of extra XP, and it summoned a Magmar. And when the Magmar came out, I got burned, and I decided, you know what, just kill me. Just like with Nidoking, I can also come here and get Rock Tomb with Nidoqueen as well. And because of Sheer Force, Rock Tomb won't have the ability to lower speed, but will get a 30% damage boost, so it essentially has an equivalent power of 78, which is pretty decent. I only fight Marowak just a few times because I need level 26 for the Salazzle in order for it to be a guaranteed one-shot with Rock Tomb. Well, level 26 is the minimum I need, but since I'm going to need level 30 as well anyway, I decided to stay here until level 28. And believe it or not, but Nidoqueen is going to be using the exact same strategy that Nidoking had to use for Lurantis. I need to train on Psyducks to get level 30 or level 31 and just get special attack EVs. If I'm level 30, I need to have 96 special attack EVs in order to 3-shot the Lurantis with Echoed Voice because of Silk Scarf, but at level 31, I will only need 68. By the time I decide to stop fighting the Psyducks, I am over 90 special attack EVs, so I decide, you know what, this will be good enough. I'm going to go ahead and take on Lurantis now. I just hope this doesn't take multiple tries like it did with Nidoking. Right away turn 1 on the Lurantis, I go for 1 Echoed Voice, it summons the Trumbeak. Then on turn 2, I go for another one. Then by turn 3, thankfully I don't get hit with Supersonic, and the Trumbeak just uses Screech on me. So now I can knock it out with the 4th turn of Echoed Voice, and I actually first try the Lurantis fight. That is actually pretty cool, but unfortunately we are at an hour and 1 on the clock, while Nidoking was an hour and 2 beating Olivia. so I can definitely tell Nidoqueen is starting to slip. I think this was because I did more special attack training than Nidoking had to, but Nidoking had the better special attacking stats, so it makes sense that Nidoqueen needed to train a bit longer. That's just what happens when you run an attacking Pokemon versus a more bulky Pokemon. Olivia is mostly identical with Nidoqueen. The only difference is I gotta use Hidden Power Grass and Brick Break instead of having access to Smart Strike. But I do first try Olivia and get a time of 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 8 seconds. Nidoking has taken a pretty decent lead so far. It is ahead of Nidoqueen by 4 minutes and 46 seconds. You know, Nidoqueen can still come back from this. It's not like one of those leads where it's just all over, there's no way this is going to happen. Like for example, last week, spoiler alert, with the Sandslashes, by the end of the game, the Cantonian Sandslash was ahead by over 21 minutes. It was a very one-sided race. I am hoping for a more competitive race. But you know what though? Maybe the third island can provide that competitive race that I've been searching for. So you know what? Let's go see how Ula'ula Island goes. Let's continue on with Nidoqueen. Before going to the Aether Paradise, I'm actually going to go on a small island by the Hollow Grand Resort, and I'm going to pick myself up the Soft Sand. This will boost the power of ground type moves by 20%. This may come in handy. Blah blah blah, Aether Paradise stuff, and then right here, the rival knocks me out with Psychic. Pretty usual for these kinds of videos. Inside of the Melemele City Pokemart, I'm going to buy myself 1 TM. Bulldoze. This is my first ground type attack, and since Bulldoze has a guaranteed chance to drop speed, this will obviously get a boost from Sheer Force, so it'll become a pretty decent attacking move. Bulldoze is a 60 power move, so with Sheer Force, this will effectively become an 80 power move, sort of like Dig. Before I leave the Melemele City Park, there's actually 2 tourists here that have 2 Pokemon each and actually give very good experience yields. Eel Stargetta in my Discord server actually found out about these guys, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to give them a chance, I'll fight them. And their XP yields are really good, so I think I'm going to start trying to fight them from now on. I also pick up the Weather Rocks to sell for money, and then we can head our way up Mount Hakanali. And as soon as we get up there, we're going to go into the Pokemon Center right away, and we're going to buy some vitamins. And today's vitamin of the day is 3 Carbos, 6 protein, and 1 calcium. The 1 calcium will get us to 100 special attack EVs, same thing with the Carbos, and after using all those proteins, we end up at 99 attack EVs. It wasn't worth getting another protein just for 1 extra attack. And thankfully, the Aether Paradise battles after the Nanu section, those give a lot of attack EVs. I feel pretty confident that I will get the rest of the EVs I need. I may have to do some blackout training inside of the Ghost Trial just to refight those ghosts over and over again for special attack. We'll see. No need to keep stalling though, let's fight the electric type trial. Right away on the Vikavolt, I go for Rock Tomb boosted by the Expert Belt, and it does slightly more than half. There's no need to go Rock EMZ because I don't think Rock EMZ would have one-shot either, because remember, the Z moves do not get boosted by Sheer Force. But you know what? It may have one-shot, I'm not 100% sure, but it's not like it would have mattered. This trial's a joke for both of our contenders. But you know who won't be a joke today? Guzma. I mean, yes, this fight does look easy, but there's going to be one particular Guzma fight for one of our contenders today that will actually cause some problems, and it has to do with Sheer Force. I will let you know when that happens. Before I head my way down to the Ghost type trial, I'm going to fight some of these Fearos from the trees. I'm just going to get myself a bit of speed EVs because Nidoqueen needs roughly 120 attack, which I'm pretty confident we'll get naturally, 124 special attack, which I can easily get at the Ghost trial, and I need 140 speed EVs, because unfortunately, Nidoqueen is slightly slower than Nidoking. Before entering the Ghost trial, I'm going to surf on this island that used to have a lighthouse on it. This is going to have the TM for Shadow Ball. Since I'm not going to have access to Smart Strike, unlike Nidoking, I can't go with the classic Steelium Z strat, so I'm going to need an alternative. and thankfully Shadow Ball will work just fine as well. And since Shadow Ball has a chance to lower special defense, this will get boosted by Sheer Force. Then I can enter the trial, take out the Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar, and then I'm immediately going to run out and go back inside. I'm going to rematch them one more time just to make sure I get the EVs. Thankfully, when I do the Mimikyu fight, when I defeat the Haunter, because it's an SOS battle technically, it will give me 4 special attack. But why don't we go ahead and do the Mimikyu fight now? I only needed to repeat the ghosts once. Right away on the Mimikyu, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with Bulldoze. This won't lower speed or anything like that, and it just went for turn 1 Mimic anyway, which is pretty funny. Now on the Mimikyu, turn 2, I'm going to hit it with Shadow Ball with the Wiki Berry. It does half, but the reason I have the Wiki Berry is just in case I get to 25% health or lower, which actually does happen. Check it out, the Haunter gets me to 25% or lower, and I go all the way back up to green health. And with the trial done, I have 122 special attack EVs. I am too short of the goal, but I'm very confident I can get that later on, especially since one of the Team Skull Grunts in Po-Town has a Haunter. And also, since I did not get the leftovers with either Pokemon, I am going to need to have a second Pokemon in my party to do the double battle in order to get into Po-Town, so I'll just catch myself a Finian in the water with a Quick Ball. I got the Quick Balls after defeating the Fire Trial, and a Quick Ball on a Finian is a guaranteed catch. Fun fact, the Tentacool here are a guaranteed catch as well with the Quick Ball. The next Kahuna fight coming up is going to be Nanu, and I'm going to want level 44. The reason I need level 44 is because 1, I need access to Earth Power, and 2, I need the bulk to be able to survive 2 Fake Outs and a potential Dark Hole Eclipse. So what I do to prepare for that is I fight all the trainers in the Ula'ula Meadows. I do almost end up losing to this guy's Alakazam. This is the guy that gives you the Flame Orb. Thankfully though, like an idiot, he uses Recover instead of trying to knock me out. I get level 44 during this fight thanks to the medium slow level up group. And now, I get Earth Power. And not only do I get Earth Power, before I enter Po-Town, I can actually pick up this TM right here, which is the TM for Poison Jab. This'll last until I decide to go for Sludge Bomb. Thankfully, Poison Jab and Sludge Bomb both do get activated by Sheer Force. However though, the Guzma fight inside of the mansion is not going to be easy. Check this out. Right away, I go for Rock Tomb, it gets to red health, and Emergency Exit for some reason does not activate. I could not figure out why this happened. I thought it was a glitch or something, but after I did both of these runs, Axu Kairi Sora did a bit of research, and he realized that Sheer Force actually ignores the opponent's emergency exit. So if I hit Golisopod with a move that is affected by Sheer Force, emergency exit will never activate. So because of that, on the second attempt, I need to use a Rockium Z. Since Z moves are not affected by Sheer Force, that will activate emergency exit. And because of that, I do win. I had no idea Sheer Force had that kind of effect. I knew Sheer Force made you ignore Life Orb, that kind of stuff. I did not know it ignored emergency exit. I also need one more thing before I fight Nanu. I'm gonna go ahead and fly back to Hau'oli City, pick myself up a piece of candy, then I'm gonna use Sharpedo to get myself the Rock Slide TM. This will still get boosted by Sheer Force thankfully. So with these better moves, let's go ahead and take on the third island kahuna, Nanu. I'm going to go into the fight holding the Soft Sand. The Expert Belt will not work here. Right away, I'm going to use 1 Earth Power. This will allow me to 2-shot, and it's going to take a little bit. Thankfully, by the time I get to the Croc Rock, I still have green health. The Intimidate does prevent Brick from one-shotting, but it's not that big of a deal. Because we got level 44, we have enough bulk to survive the Fake Outs, and we can survive Black Hole Eclipse if it goes for it. Thankfully, Nanu did not go for it, and I can defeat him first try and get a time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 8 seconds. Starting with Nidoking at the rival fight in Mali City, I do lose here to Psychic as well. Then inside the mart, I can go ahead and purchase myself the Bulldoze TM. Like I've mentioned many times in this video, these Pokemon are just very similar to each other. On top of Mount Hakanali, I do get one unfortunate blackout because the Skarmory ends up taking so many hits with Brick Break, and by the time I get to the Metang, I'm not able to survive, and that allows the Dugtrio to knock me out with Sucker Punch. I can easily resolve this issue on the second battle just by using the Fightinium Z. And then inside the observatory, I'll pick myself up the Comet Shard, sell it, and buy some vitamins. And our vitamin of the day for Nidoking will consist of the following: 5 protein, 4 calcium, and 4 carbos. I could theoretically buy some irons or zincs, and I did think about it for a second. In the end though, I decided not to go for it. The reason I'm not going for it is because I might still want more attack, special attack, or speed naturally, and if I buy irons, that'll fill up my EV cap. I don't want that to happen. I use the rest of my money to buy some repels and potions and stuff like that. I'm going to use the Rockium Z for the Vikavolt trial. Right away, I go for 1 Rock Tomb on turn 1, and I actually get the 5% miss, which is quite stupid. Then, after I hit it with the first Rock Tomb, I will hit it with Continental Crush. Then, I can just knock out the Charjabug with Rock Tomb. I don't remember which of these 2 Pokemon I played first. I think I might have played Nidoqueen first, because with Nidoking, I do realize how this ability works, and I actually do use the Rockium Z for the Golisopod. I do also get another unfortunate blackout. On my way to the Ghost-type trial, I fight this fisherman who has a Gyarados. I try to go for Continental Crush based on Rock Tomb. It lives in red health, and with the rain up, it one-shots me with Aqua Tail. Honestly, if I wanted to fight this guy, I probably should have done it after the Ghost Trial, because as soon as the Ghost Trial goes away, the rain goes away. So that would have been a better idea. But for some reason, I decided to fight him again, and I get another blackout. I do fortunately learn my lesson, and I don't fight him again. For Mimikyu on turn 1, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with Bulldoze just to break the disguise. Then with the Steelium Z, I can use Corkscrew Crash based on Smart Strike. This will allow the Mimikyu to be a 1-hit. Then I can go ahead and use another Smart Strike on the Haunter. Hold up, not Smart Strike, Rock Tomb. Although, I'm not sure it really mattered either way. I fight most of the trainers leading up to Po Town as well, because Nidoking is also going to need Earth Power. Although the difference is, instead of needing level 44 for Nanu, I'm going to need level 45. The reason I need level 45 is because at level 45, Earth Power will be a 75% chance to one-hit the Persian. If I was 44, Persian would not be a one-shot. At least it would be a very unfavorable range at best. I did a very good amount of training. By the time I defeat Gladion, right before I'm supposed to fight Nanu, I get level 43 and I now have Earth Power. Unfortunately though, as I mentioned, I am going to need 2 more levels. I need the 2 levels because otherwise, if Persian is not a one-shot, it will go for Black Hole Eclipse because the Sableye will have had a chance to use Fake Out and Shadow Ball on me. And if that's the case, Black Hole Eclipse will always finish me off. So I have to make sure I have a decent chance at one-hitting. And while I do some training in the wild to get 45, I decided to go get some revenge on this fisherman's Gyarados. Well, I guess it's just what a higher level does to you, but even if I didn't kill it, I think I would have survived Aqua Tail anyway since there was no rain. I enter the Nanu fight at level 44, but I'm like 1 XP away from 45, so it'll work out either way. I'm going to go into the fight with Brick Break, Earth Power, Rock Tomb, Poison Jab, and I'm going to hold the Adrenaline Orb. Right away, turn 1 on the Sableye, I get hit with Fake Out, then I go ahead and use 2 Earth Powers. Well, it becomes 3 thanks to a Hyper Potion. Then I get level 45. Next up is the Krokorok. Intimidate activates the Adrenaline Orb, giving me an extra boost to my speed. Then on the Persian, I get hit with Fake Out, then I can go ahead and use Earth Power. I get the 75% range, then I can knock out the Persian and defeat Nanu, with a real time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 27 seconds. Nidoqueen is still not out of the woods yet, and the reason I say that is because Nidoqueen was able to reduce its deficit from 4 minutes and 46 seconds to 3 minutes and 41 seconds, about a minute and 5 second improvement. so both of these Pokemon still could theoretically win. But there is the Aether Paradise and Poni Island section coming up next. Usually this section of the game is filled with just constant training, and the most important thing is pretty much just move coverage. But normally Poni Island has access to some of the best TMs in the game. And for both of our contenders, there's a few good options there, like Blizzard, Thunder, and Sludge Wave. So why don't we go ahead and continue on with Nidoking. I should have done this before the Nanu fight, but after the Nanu fight, I go back to Mali City. Then I could go ahead and fly on to Melemele Island, pick myself up a rare candy, and more importantly, the TM for Rock Slide. I'm going to be going into these trainer fights with Earth Power, Rock Slide, Brick Break, Poison Jab with the Rock EMZ. This is going to be very good coverage for this part of the game. While I do first try Lusamine and everyone else in here, I don't do it to one person, and that's Guzma. On the Guzma's Golisopod, I go for Rock Slide instead of Continental Crush. Because of that, Emergency Exit does not activate. Then I can get knocked out by the Ariados using Shadow Sneak. Like I said though, other than that mess up at Guzma, I have a completely flawless Aether Paradise section, and now we can make our way towards Poni Island. I'm not going to buy anything in the Poni Island Center right now. I go ahead and enter it just to set it as a fly point and a warp point in case I black out. Fun fact, you cannot fly to this island if you did not step foot into the center. The reason they have it like that is so you can't skip a mandatory cutscene. For Nidoking, I'm going to need to make sure I am a minimum level of 55 for Hapu. The reason I need level 55 is for some very specific ranges. I will mention that once I get to the Hapu fight. So right now, I'm going to fight all the trainers here and a bunch of wild Pokemon until I get it to happen. I get a blackout every now and then. Once I get level 55 after the Team Skull Grunts, I'm going to be going into the Hapu fight with Blizzard, Earth Power, Hidden Power, and Poison Jab. I did go back into the Poni Island Center later just to pick up this TM for Blizzard. I'm going to need this for the Flygon, and I'm going to be holding a strange item. I'm going to be holding the Quick Claw. So let's go ahead and start the Hapu fight. On turn 1, there is no way I can ever outspeed that Dugtrio, so what I need to happen is I need the Quick Claw to activate so I can knock it out with Earth Power. I have to reset if I get hit with Earthquake. If I get hit with Sandstorm instead, that's fine. The reason I need level 55 is because at level 55, with the speed EVs that I needed, I will outspeed the Flygon. And when I outspeed the Flygon, I only need Quick Claw luck on just the Dugtrio. Even though I don't get a Quick Claw on the Dugtrio, it just goes for Sandstorm turn 1 anyway, so it was more of a safety precaution than anything. Vast Pawnee Canyon time. I'm going to need to make sure for Lusamine, to prepare myself for the final 8 trainers, I need to use all my candies to get level 71, meaning if I get all the candies, I only need to get to level 59 naturally from the trainers here. And there are a lot of trainers here, so it's not going to be that bad. At least I don't struggle with the first trainer today, Veteran Harry. This guy is a huge roadblock for anybody weak to fire moves, but thankfully Earth Power go Burr. I also did pick up the Sludge Wave TM from the Poni Island Center as well. This was just to give myself some extra PP. And thankfully after I defeat Veteran Eric, he's the very last trainer in this whole canyon, I will have level 59. And I decided not to use my candies yet because I was pretty close to another level up because of all the extra trainers in here. So I decided to just go to the Komodo at just level 59. I have to use Sludge Wave here instead of Sludge Bomb because Sludge Bomb gets blocked by Bulletproof. Plus, I can use Sludge Wave to hit both of the targets in a double battle. I am able to knock out the Hakamoa that way, but the second ally that comes out is the Scizor, and obviously Sludge Wave is not going to work. I go ahead and switch to Earth Power just to finish off the Komodo. The Scizor allows me to live at 18 hit points remaining, and I can go ahead and knock it out. Unfortunately though, I do not end up leveling up to level 60. Honestly, I should have just used the 12 rare candies while I did. I have a huge problem with not letting XP go to waste, but because of that fact I didn't want the XP to go to waste, I have to go back and get the rest of the rare candies anyway. Honestly, I think the reason I decided not to use the rare candies was because I didn't have them all yet, but I easily could have had them all before stepping foot into the canyon, so that was still 100% my fault. And while I do backtrack for the candies, I go back to Coney City because there was something I forgot to get. I forgot to get the Shadow Claw TM, so I'm going to go ahead and buy that in Coney. And now that Nidoking got all the candies it needed, I can use them before Lusamine, and then save the game with a time of 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 55 seconds. For Nidoqueen, inside of the Aether Paradise, I get no resets or blackouts to any of the trainers, not even to Guzma, but sadly, I am not able to live against Lusamine, and I do end up dying to her. Thankfully, you don't have to win the first fight. I do have to win the second fight though, however. As soon as I arrive at Poni Island, I'm going to go ahead and purchase myself Blizzard and Sludge Wave. The main advantage of Sludge Wave is that Sludge Wave has 5 more power than Sludge Bomb does. But to be fair though, it also does have a lower chance of poison compared to Sludge Bomb, plus Sludge Bomb gets blocked by Bulletproof, which the Komodo has. But I'd much rather have the extra power, especially since the Nidos don't really have setup. Nidoqueen is unfortunately going to have some problems here. For Hapu, because of my speed, I am going to need level 58. Yeah. The one bright side though is I only need level 71 for the second Lusamine fight after that. So if I defeat Hapu at 58, I could theoretically use a couple of rare candies to get to that point, just fight some trainers in the canyon, then use the rest of the candies before Lusamine. So it's honestly not going to be that bad if I plan my candies properly. And once I finish up most of the training before Hapu, I'm going to go back to Melemele City because there's something I need to pick up. I am playing during the daytime because Nidoqueen is going to need the air balloon. This will prevent the Doug Trio from turn 1 going for Earthquake. I theoretically could have ran Quick Claw just like Nidoking did, but honestly, I think the air balloon is going to be better. But for Nidoqueen, when I fight Hapu, I am going to be using Earth Power and Blizzard as well. I'll have Hidden Power Grass for the Gastrodon. Right away against the Doug Trio, the air balloon will block Earthquake, so then I can knock out it with Earth Power. Then I can use Blizzard for the Flygon, Hidden Power Grass to 2-hit the Gastrodon, then I can use Blizzard for the Mudsdale. Although the fight does not go according to plan, she ends up dodging Earth Power because of Sand Veil from the Doug Trio. Then on the second Earth Power, she goes ahead and swaps into Flygon, blocking that Earth Power. And when I do switch to Blizzard to knock out the Flygon, the Doug Trio comes back in, uses Earthquake, I knock it out with Earth Power, and then on the Mudsdale, it does dodge Blizzard, and I get a reset. On the second attempt, after I knock out the Doug Trio with Earth Power, when she sends out Mudsdale, I go for Blizzard, she actually swaps to Flygon thinking I'm going to use Earth Power again. But you know what? That's just funny. She ended up screwing herself even further. If anything, she gave herself one less turn to attack. Since I did have to use a few rare candies to get myself to 58 for Hapu, I'm going to need to do a tiny bit of extra training in the canyon, but it's not going to be that bad. I am going to have to use my rare candies at 62 instead of level 59. My plan is to line up my XP just right, so after I knock out the Komodo, I will get level 62, then I can use my rare candies to get level 71. And thankfully, due to the Hakumowo that got summoned to help it, I get exactly level 62. This is perfect. Now Nidoqueen can enter the Ultra Space and save the game with a time of 2 hours, 18 minutes, and 13 seconds. Even though I needed more training for Hapu with Nidoqueen, I ended up reducing the deficit even further. Instead of being 3 minutes and 41 seconds behind Nidoking, Nidoking is only ahead by 2 minutes and 18 seconds. So depending on how the final 8 trainers go, Nidoqueen could still theoretically pull this out, but still 2 minutes worth of time when there's not many trainers left, assuming everyone gets first tried, I think Nidoking might still end up being the winner. But still, I have had the final 8 trainers get swung by more than that, especially if one of them has to do blackout training. But let's not worry about that though. Let's just start with Lusamine, starting with Nidoqueen, then we'll head on to Gladion, Hal, then the final 5. Let's do this. Poison-type Pokemon have one great advantage for Lusamine. It makes her lead Clefable essentially useless. Its only attacking move is Moonblast. What I can do is just use Poison Jab with Nidoqueen to one hit. Next up is the Melodic. I just continue using Poison Jab, and thanks to the Poison Barb and Sheer Force, it is just completely devastating everything. I do have to switch to Sludge Wave though, because the Beware has Fluffy, which would have reduced Poison Jab's damage. Then I can use Shadow Ball for the Mismagius. Nidoking has an almost identical moveset. It has Poison Jab, Sludge Wave, essentially just replace Shadow Ball with Shadow Claw, although Melodic somehow does survive a range. I think this was because I held the Expert Belt instead of a Poison Barb. That is definitely a misplay, but thankfully she did kinda throw at the last minute. Her Beware just used Pain Split, and you know what the Mismagius did? It also used Pain Split. Dude, she really needs to get that move off of her moveset. For Gladion, since I'm playing during the day, there's no hail. I can go ahead and use Rock Slide to one-hit the Crobat. The first one did miss, so I had to use two. Then Earth Power can be used for the Silvally, which is holding the Fire Memory. Then I can use Rock Slide on the Weavile, and then switch on back to Earth Power for the Lucario. For Nidoking, the fight goes essentially the exact same way. Although, for some reason, I decided to use two Poison Jabs on Crobat instead of Rock Slide. I have no idea why I did that. Maybe because Rock Slide wasn't going to kill anyway, but that makes no sense. I think I was just being stupid here. I think I was being stupid, because when I come back here on the second attempt, I actually win the fight. Going back to Nidoqueen for the How fight, that Raichu will most likely outspeed, so I go ahead and use Earth Power and... oh, it actually does outspeed. Never mind. I can use Earth Power on the Kamala, then on the Primarina, I can use Poison Jab, and then switch back to Earth Power for the Flareon. Unfortunately, the Flareon is able to survive my Poison Jab despite having a Poison Barb. I didn't go for Earth Power because Flareon has very good special defense. With Nidoking against the Raichu, I go ahead and use Earth Power. Then I will continue using Earth Power on the Kamala, and it does survive, which kinda surprised me. But to be fair, it always survives everything. Then the Primarina, I can switch on over to Poison Jab. And then last up is the Flareon, Earth Power one-shots. You know, I guess Earth Power would have one-shot with Nidoqueen, but then again, Nidoking was holding the Expert Belt, so that might have had something to do with it. But still, both of our Pokemon are doing pretty decently, although Nidoking did have that mess up with Gladion. Now, both of our contenders will move on to the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. The first member of the Elite Four that both of our contenders take on is Kahili, the Flying type specialist. She leads off with a Skarmory that isn't really that good. It's very easy to set up on, although it's not like I have setup options. For Nidoqueen, I just go Rock Slide into Ice Beam. I picked up the Ice Beam TM inside of Mount Lanakia, which is this game's Victory Road. So I can go ahead and just use Rock Slide or Ice Beam for the rest of the Pokemon here, resulting in some pretty easy one-shots. Nidoking, though, did not need to use Ice Beam here. I can just spam Rock Slide because of my higher attack stat. And now with Kahili defeated, both of our contenders are going to split ways. Nidoqueen will go to Acerola, while Nidoking goes to Olivia. So let's head on back to Nidoqueen. Earth Power will still one-shot the Sableye. Next up is the Frostlass. I do outspeed, just barely, and I can knock it out with Rock Slide. Then I will use Ice Beam for the Palossand and the Delmise, and continue to use it for the Drifblim as well. Nidoking at Olivia, though, however, it's going to do pretty decently. I now have Smart Strike back on my moveset, and I have the Expert Belt. I'll use Earth Power on the Relicanth, then I'll Smart Strike into Earth Power for the Probopass. Then on the Lycanroc, it'll be a one-hit with Earth Power, and Smart Strike will deal 4 times damage to the Carbink. This fight went so smoothly. Most Pokemon struggle here. It's actually quite a nice feeling. It is now Nidoqueen's turn to fight Olivia. I will have Earth Power for the Relicanth. Except for Smart Strike though, I'm going to have to use Rock Slide into Earth Power on the sturdy users. Other than that though, this fight goes pretty fine. I do have the Ground EMZ though, specifically so I can use Tectonic Rage on the Carbink. This unfortunately still does not one-shot and she uses a full restore. Yeah, that was a complete waste of a Z move. At least I still win the fight though. Nidoking is now at Acerola. I have Shadow Claw on the moveset. I am still holding the Expert Belt because the Expert Belt is the only thing I really need. With good move coverage, including Ice Beam, which I now just taught. I didn't really need it for Kahili. Then again, maybe I just forgot to teach it. But still, I did win first try without it, so I don't think it was truly needed for her. But it's definitely needed for the Palossand because its defense is extraordinarily high. Maybe Earth Power would have knocked it out, but Ice Beam would have been the safer option anyway. And last up, all of our contenders today will be facing Hala last. I'm going into this fight with the Ground EMZ, Earth Power, Poison Jab, and Sludge Wave. I'm going to spam Poison Jab on the Hariyama. Next up is the Crabominable. I switch on over to Sludge Wave because its special defense is lower, and it barely survives in red health and knocks out Nidoqueen from close to full health. I did not expect that actually. I go back into this fight holding the Poison Barb. Let's see if the Poison Barb will allow Crabominable to be a one-shot. And it does. Okay. I switch onto Earth Power by accident on the Poliwrath, but thankfully it didn't hit me for that much damage. Then the Primeape is a one-shot, and then I will use Sludge Wave for the Beware. For Nidoking, I have Poison Barb, Poison Jab, and Sludge Wave. This is the exact same strat that Nidoqueen ended up going with, so this kind of confirms my theory that I did play Nidoqueen first. Probably because it shows up in the Pokedex earlier, because I have been doing these videos close to Pokedex order as I can. But I first try Hala, and now both of our contenders will head off to Professor Kukui, so let's see who wins this race. Kukui leads off with Lycanroc. I go ahead and one-shot with Earth Power. Next up is the Ninetales. I am fortunate enough to outspeed. That was the reason I needed all those Speed EVs, because if I did not have those Speed EVs, I would not have been able to outspeed and I would have been hit with a very massive blizzard. Then I will use Continental Crush on the Braviary because Braviary has incredible bulk. Then I will 2-hit the Magnezone, thankfully immune to paralysis. And last up is the Incineroar. That thing just does not stand a chance against Earth Power. I can knock out the Incineroar and clock in, with a real time of 2 hours, 28 minutes, and 52 seconds, with 6 resets, 10 blackouts at level 74. Switching on over to Nidoking, I'm going into this fight with the Expert Belt. Right away on Lycanroc, I'm going to use Earth Power for the one-hit. Next up is the Ninetales. I'll switch on over to Poison Jab. Thankfully, because of my higher speed, I do outspeed the Lycanroc this time. I am going to have to use 2 Poison Jabs on the Snorlax because I had no room for Brick Break. I get to level 74, and instead of using Continental Crush, I will be using Ice Beam. Then on the Magnezone, I'll go ahead and use 1 Shadow Claw and then follow it up with Earth Power. If I led with Earth Power, he would have been stuck in a heal loop with full restores. The Incineroar will go down the same way, and Nidoking clocks in as well, with a real time of 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 15 seconds, with 5 resets, 13 blackouts at level 74, with a game time of 9 hours and 50 minutes. So yeah, for once we actually got a race that was very close. Unfortunately, it wasn't the kind of close race I wanted where both of our contenders will go back and forth, but Nidoqueen has remained very competitive with Nidoking. I think depending on circumstances, Nidoqueen could theoretically win, but it does have some flaws going for it, mainly its lower offensive capabilities and needing more speed for the endgame, plus obviously needing a higher level for Hapu. In fact, if this run were to have kept going, Nidoqueen could have theoretically taken over. Nidoqueen was only behind Nidoking by the end of the game by 1 minute and 37 seconds. starting at the Akala section where its deficit was at 446, it slowly reduced that deficit by a lot. I think what helped it reduce that deficit was honestly the higher bulk, because if both of our contenders have very good moves, then the one with the higher bulk won't have to like set up as much, it doesn't have to worry about going to the Pokemon Center, stuff like that. And I think that was what allowed it to catch up. But unfortunately the Akala section just put it way too far behind. Maybe if at the Akala section it was only behind by 2 minutes, theoretically Nidoqueen could have pulled ahead at the last minute. But still, either way, both of our contenders did really good. And if we take a look at the tier list, both Nidoking and Nidoqueen got A tier placements. Nidoking got itself a spot at the top of the A tier, while Nidoqueen is just a couple of slots behind. In between them is actually Kyurem. I did this run back in December, and that was when I banned Z moves originally. So Kyurem can definitely land itself a spot in the S tier if I allowed Z crystals, especially since it has 18 resets like you see here. They were not able to outperform enough to get into the S tier. I don't think either of these Pokemon were capable of S tier performances. But hey, they both did outperform Zekrom and Tapu Koko. And Tapu Koko was a pretty decent Pokemon. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this run. Next week, we're going to be doing something pretty interesting. We will be playing 2 normal types again. Yay, normal types in Alola. And not just that, we're playing Wigglytuff and Clefable. Wait a minute, these aren't just normal types anymore. One of them's not even a normal type, they're both fairy types. So yeah, we're going to be playing 2 fairy types today. And yeah, I hope you know what kind of pain we're in for. But if you want to see it, make sure you subscribe so you can see it. Also be sure to like the video or possibly support the channel through memberships. YouTube members get access to the raw unedited footage for my versus races, which are uploaded right now for the Nidos, in addition to the patch files for all the Mega Evolution Pokemon we play in Crystal. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.